Hello friends, tonight we're going to take a look at the LongAmp Roxanne Flanger. This is mostly a clone of the original Electric Mistress, the original now, not the deluxe. And it has a lot of modern conveniences that help to do away with a lot of the things that made the original extremely inconvenient. And it mostly sounds the same. Most of the classic sounds are in there, but there was such a degree of variability from unit to unit on that older electro-harmonic stuff and older stuff from any manufacturer. And also, values drift over time, that this very well could sound exactly like a particular vintage unit. It just, to my ears, the ones that I've played, this one sounds a little bit different. It's not quite as bright, for one thing, and there's a little bit more of the jet plane effect than you normally hear with the originals. But still, it is extremely close, one of the closest approximations that I've ever heard. And unlike a few of the other more recent Electric Mistress clones, this one does well with dirt pedals. I have a Hartman flanger, and it gets a little bit thin sometimes if you're running a big fuzz into it. I like that there's an external clock speed knob. That might be particular to my Roxanne. I'm not sure if all of them are like that, but normally that's an internal trim pot, and this gives you access to it, obviously, on the outside of the amp, and gives you all kinds of extra cool noises that you wouldn't have had access to normally. You can see from the art that this is going for that sort of Andy Summers Electric Mistress sound in particular. But a lot of you watching this, the two of you who actually watch this channel, are maybe wanting to know what this would sound like doing the David Gilmour thing, as it's so hard to get an Electric Mistress for that purpose. Well, I'm going to do that. I swear that will be in the video. But I've noticed that a lot of folks tend to want to copy the David Gilmour sound completely. You get all of Gilmour's pedals, and then you're gonna play just like Gilmour on all the Pink Floyd songs in your bedroom or whatever. Well, I would encourage you, try to build your own sound. Don't worry so much about copying someone else's. Yes, you can use David's sound as a jumping off point for your own, but I feel like the internet age has bred this whole generation of guitar players that are really just concerned with like perfectly cloning the noises that someone they like makes. So, though I'm gonna dedicate some of this video to that, maybe against my better judgment, most of this video will be me just kind of making my own weird noises with this flanger, which is the reason that I purchased it. So I mentioned modern conveniences earlier. Well, this is 12 volts or 9 instead of 18. So it does have less headroom, noticeably less. And I think that's one of the reasons that the sound is just slightly different. But also the chip is different. The original, I think Panasonic made them, or they're crazy hard to get. So this makes this pedal much more reasonably priced. The price is really good, by the way. In case Tomas changes his price, I don't want to tell you what I pay now in case you're viewing this in like 10 years, but it's very reasonable. And also, I'm noticing there's not as much noise as the original, and no volume drop. Like, no volume drop at all, actually. None whatsoever. That's really cool. All right, so a bit about how we're recording this. This is going into a KT66 equipped Marshall that is being played at just staggering volume. It is really cooking right now. So initially, all the distortion, or really it's just power to breakup, is coming just from the amp. And then I'll kick on some other pedals when we do our sort of Gilmore-y thing. And Strat first, and then Les Paul to follow, both of which have rewind pickups in them. My favorite pickups on earth. So let's listen to our unaffected sound first. All right, let's kick on the flanger. All right, so we're starting with my favorite sound. It's kind of weird. Everything's kind of pointing in the exact same direction. So you can hear this one does do the jet plane noise a little bit more than most Electric Mistresses do. But it's still incredibly pleasant and still one of the closest to the originals that you can buy these days. Well, I messed up my own riff there at the end, but let's now, oh man, I'm going to regret this. Let's try the Gilmore thing now to get it out of the way. So first we're just going to do the big muff into this thing with this setting, because this is pretty close to some of what you're hearing on the wall. Folks say this is a little more extreme than one of Gilmore's settings would normally be, but to my ears, it's pretty close. So let's give it a whirl. Wow, holy shit. All that noise that you're hearing is from kicking on the Wren and Cuff Caprid, which is a ram's head clone, into the already cooking Marshall. Now, normally you would put this into a much cleaner amp, but that's not how I do things, so holy shit. I mean, Does it sound exactly like David Gilmour? Oh, fuck no, but that's because the idiot driving the car can't drive like David Gilmour, but it still sounds fucking massive and very Wall-like. Wow, I got really sloppy there towards the end. All right, let's tweak this to try and get an even more convincing sound out of it. All right, so I felt that the flanger was good where it was. I felt like the problem was really the way I had the big muff set. So I've just toned that down in general. So now we're just getting the flavor from the big muff, pushing into the amp some, and most of the actual clipping is coming from the power section of the amp still. I've done a bunch of these demos today. I'm starting to lose track of keys in the middle of playing bits. I'm sorry. It's awful. That is a delightful sound, though, is it not? That's pretty lovely. I don't want to stop playing it. All right, we know the big muff works. So what about the Color Sound Power Booster? All right, so we switched over to the Color Sound Power Booster clone. This one was made by Balls, by the doctor at Balls, Dr. Balls. Balls is one of my favorite effects companies. Balls is excellent. I love Balls. So this pedal's amazing. It was a limited edition thing. I think I've got like serial number 3 or something like that, and you can't go wrong with one of these. It's a very faithful clone of the original. Let's see what it does though with the LongAmp. Now, David Gilmour was using the Color Sound Power Booster really as just like an overdrive. I'm using it as like a full-on fucking distortion here. So this doesn't really sound like Pink Floyd at all. This is just an extra interesting sound that I'm showing you because fuck it, why the hell not? I guess I really plugged that in just because it's my favorite overdrive pedal and I use it constantly. So any excuse to throw that in there. All right, I think we've determined that the LongAmp pretty convincingly does the Floyd thing. So I think we can turn off the distortion-y stuff, right? So it does it clean too. All right, now let's just use this thing to just make some wild noises. I'm gonna go fuck with the knobs pretty hard. I'm gonna show you one of my other favorite settings. So that's this extreme. Let's turn the clock speed all the way to the other side and see what changes. So they're not also knocked the guitar out of tune, but you can also hear that we've pushed it so extreme that you can sort of hear the cycle turn over again, right, with that click. So let's put it at a more moderate setting and see what we come up with. All right, this particular clock speed setting has a nice metallic mid-range that I think a lot of you will find pleasant. This is probably where many people would just set it and leave it, I think. That's pretty cool. What about a kind of a light flanging sound? What would that be like? All right, this is a pretty subtle flanging effect, I think. So if you're looking for just some flanger, nothing too crazy, I think this is a good place to start. Let's try it with no delay. For me, that's a little too subtle. Let's make it just a little bit more intense. I'm going to start by increasing the speed. I think that'll help. For my taste personally, that's just too mild. I'm just not getting anything out of that. Let's see if we can split the difference between this very mild and my preferred setting where it's just batshit crazy. I think that's a lot more fun. What do you think? Yeah, I think that way we're actually getting something, but it's not crazy. It's just adding some color. Especially in position 2 and 4, that's really interesting. You get a lot more there. All right, so we've kind of found our medium setting and we've heard some extremes. Let's try as fast as the speed goes and just see how crazy that is. Some crazy clock noise going on there too. Well, that's nuts. Let's switch to the Les Paul. Okay, I've started with the Les Paul and the delay on, and then we'll even do the Gilmore sounds and stuff, at least with the big muff. That's probably going to achieve core meltdown, but we're going to do it anyway, because why not? But first, this is just the Les Paul, and a little bit of delay, and the LongAmp. Because the Roxanne alters the frequency so much as it passes through it, it really brightens the Les Paul up and makes it feel like something very different. It's really very searing. I hope that's coming through. That's incredibly interesting. It also has a cool feel. It makes it very spongy and liquidy without the addition of any sort of drive pedal. I like it. So I guess it's time to run the Les Paul through the big muff. This is probably going to sound like pure ass. I've left all the settings the same. Well, I've left it with our settings at the end where we turned the distortion down on the Wren and Cuff Caprid. And by the way, this is the big box Caprid. I don't have the small one. It's the classic giant one. Lovely pedal. honestly, it's really not that bad. I kind of like the sound. What do you guys think? I mean, it doesn't sound like Pink Floyd that much. I mean, it sounds better than a lot of the shit I hear people doing online singing. It sounds like Pink Floyd. Back to one of our extreme settings. Again, wow, that was kind of cool, whatever the hell that was. The filter switch, which I have now engaged, freezes the flanging, so you're not getting that movement, but you're still getting the filtering effect, obviously, hence the name. And this interacts with the clock speed knob, which is our external trim pot, and then also the range and feedback knobs. We're not going to go through the whole range of sounds that makes, because you can tweak that almost infinitely, but I just found one that I think is super cool to show you now. Pretty awesome, and you could see how that would be handy for making a certain specific riff, right? And now we're back to our moving sound again. Wow, the LongAmp Flanger sounds great. It's just outstanding. Tomas did an amazing job. He was great to deal with, and I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy this pedal for many years to come. Thank you so much for watching this incredibly long, rambling, horrific video. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back soon, surely, with some other pedal that I'll play for 30 minutes. Thank you so much. See you then. Bye.